Africa, an immense continent of 30 million square kilometers. Climates range from the humidity of the equatorial regions to the extreme aridity of the Sahara, with a number of intermediate climates. The distribution of the population is closely linked to the environment's resources. Sedentary farmers or nomadic shepherds are divided into thousands of ethnic groups. Despite the urban explosion, with a growth of over 600% in the last 50 years, the rural population still represents 2/3 of the total. In sub-Saharan Africa, agriculture makes up 20% of the gross domestic product, even if in the 1980s and 90s, agricultural production per capita has decreased. Over the past 40 years, agricultural development has constantly remained below the population growth, the highest in the world. Women are the driving force of the continent's agricultural economy. They represent 70% of agricultural workers. They carry out 90% of hoeing and weeding. They fetch and carry water, often far from their homes, for all the family's needs. They account for 80% of the transport of fuel and agricultural products from the fields to the villages. They represent 100% of the labor force for the processing of basic foodstuffs. Agriculture is increasingly becoming a predominantly female sector. More than 50% of food production is by women. Today, women are the majority of small farmers who work and manage the land. Men have to go and try to find waged labor in the urban centers, leaving many of their tasks to the women and increasing their responsibility for providing the family with food. According to recent statistics, rural women work on average between 4 and 6 hours more every day compared to men, including the hours spent cooking, cleaning the house and looking after children, in Africa far more numerous than in other developing countries, with the fertility rate standing at almost twice the world average. But there is also higher infant mortality.
I'm 20. I get up at 6 in the morning, pound the millet, fetch wood, cook for my 3 children and husband, and work until it gets dark.
The percentage of rural women householders stands at around 30%, the highest in the world, but in some areas reaches 60%. The crisis of the post-colonial states has sparked off unsolved conflicts all over the continent. Coups d'etat, revolutions and civil wars caused thousands of victims amongst the population, with a massive exodus of refugees fleeing the violence. The already difficult food situation has been further worsened by the enormous number of mines scattered over the land. In Angola, for example, with a civil war that has lasted for over 20 years, women have only recently begun cultivating the fields again after they have been cleared of mines. Africa is not self-sufficient in food. 10% of the food consumed is imported. 1 African out of 5 depends on international food aid. And the rate of undernutrition stands at 40%, the highest in the planet. Environmental degradation is a world problem, but its impact is more strongly felt among the poorer segments of the rural population, who draw their means of subsistence just from the surrounding environment. Drought, fuel shortage, and desertification are daily problems that the majority of African women have to try to solve. To limit this degradation, there are many projects supported by the FAO in the continent, such as that of Keita in Niger, where the women play a predominant role in reclaiming land from the desert, building barriers to maintain humidity and grow young trees.
My name is Arabi Jakuba. I am the Tamaski site manager. We have 132 participants, 66 women, 47 girls, 11 men and 8 boys. Here we transport the stones to face the barriers.
In exchange for their work, each woman receives a ration of food to supplement her family's diet. Finding new sources of fuel, a widespread problem in the whole of the continent, is not only a strategy to protect the environment from deforestation, but a necessity for food security. In Ethiopia, with the support of the FAO, appropriate technologies have been introduced. The use of improved ovens and of alternative fuels, such as the biogas produced by this young rural woman in her barn of 18 oxen on the plateau near Addis Ababa, is of great help in food security. Important improvements in daily life, as this woman, a mother of 7, explains to us in her house. She uses biogas for her stove and the lamp she lights every evening. From the heart of the continent to the coasts, rich in fish, a nourishing food and important element in the diet. In Africa, the survival of 35 million people, 5% of the population, depends wholly or partially on fishing. Some of the fish caught is not used due to lack of adequate conservation methods. In Ghana, the women have developed a smoking process to dry fish. Fish treated this way can be kept for long periods of time, increasing their earnings.
With this smoker, you can smoke a large quantity of fish at a go, and that helps to preserve the fish, to get a good quality fish for the market. I think it has helped the women here a lot. It has improved their incomes and thereby extending into their families, because with improved incomes, they are able to take care of their families better, educate their children and feed them well.
The difficulties in communication, the transport and the storage of agricultural products are serious problems that rural women try to solve by introducing new, nourishing and low-cost foods.
Here we are doing a demonstration on preparing food using soya to introduce it into children's diets, enriching the traditional millet-based diet.
Even after the end of the colonial regimes, administrative, economic and cultural obstacles still discriminate against women in owning and effectively controlling the land.
And land reform, although constitutionally is clear, but the process of redistribution of land is still a big question. The process is slow for addressing needs, land needs of the people, particularly amongst the women, because the challenges is to reform the traditional customary laws.
Despite their essential role in food security, African women are almost always the invisible players in development. The very high illiteracy rates often do not allow them to be aware of their rights, limiting their political and social power. Education can thus have a central role in increasing their public visibility and improving the living conditions of the family as well as agricultural production. Many studies show that when women have economic resources and decision-making power, they are more productive than men. Hence the importance of credit in the FAO programs and those of other international organizations to promote setting up associations and cooperatives that can also experiment simple and appropriate technologies suitable for local requirements.
We have formed a cooperative to take our lives into our own hands. Today we have developed a system to preserve agricultural products, fruit and vegetables. And for our activity, we have got an oven where we dry our surplus.
Of all rural women, the Africans are certainly those who have to solve the most difficult conditions. They have a long road ahead of them, but today, more than ever, they are about to set off with awareness and energy.